Hey guys, in this video I'm going to show you 3 Beautify components that will help you to create applications with a great UI and user experience. The first component is going to be Beautify's stepper component. This component will allow you to divide an extensive form, for example, into different sections, providing a wizard experience. This is pretty common in the checkout pages of e-commerce websites like Amazon, for example, where you enter the shipping details as a first step, then you enter the credit card info, and finally you place the order. The second component is going to be Beautify's Autocomplete component that will help the user to select elements on long lists, for example, just typing some characters of the item, and doing that will bring the element to be selected. And the third component is going to be Beautify's Calendar component that will help you to create applications to manage events and appointments, pretty much like Google Calendar. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Beautify Stepper. The stepper is a component that allows us to create a wizard. For example, we can create a checkout page with multiple steps. For example, the shipping step, the payment step, and the place order step, where the user submits the order and confirms the purchase. So here I already created a checkout component that is empty. It only contains this heading. And let's get started and let's start creating our stepper. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to add the B-stepper component, and we need to assign a model to it. So we're going to create the model here within the data function, and let's call it current step. Here we're going to define the current step in the wizard. So we're going to initialize this model with 0. Oh, sorry, I forgot to close this tag. Okay, now we should be, okay, yes. Okay, and here I need to assign the model using the bModel property. And here I assign current step as the model for this stepper. And now I have 2 main components within the stepper. I have the stepper header, where I'm going to put the different titles for each of the steps. And then the other section that I need to add is going to be the stepper items, where I'm going to include each of these steps. In this case, we're going to use 3 steps: shipping, payment, and place order. So first, let's add the B-stepper header. And let's add the titles for each step. In order to do that, we need to use B-stepper step. Add the title first. It's going to be shipping. B-stepper step. Okay. Step 1 is going to be this one, actually. Step equals 1. So I need to use the complete attribute here. And I need to put here the condition. That is going to be current step greater than 1. Okay. I'm going to copy this and I'm going to add the rest of the steps. First, I'm going to add a divider, B divider. And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to add the rest of the titles. Okay, this is going to be the step 2. This is going to be payment, the payment step. And the third one is going to be the confirmation or the place order step. the final one. And I need to add step 3. And in this case, the condition is going to be current step greater than 2. And in this case, it's going to be the current step greater than 3. And this is going to show each of these steps as completed only if this condition is met. So in this case, we don't need a condition. We just keep it as it is. We only need a condition for the first and the second step. Now that we have our, remove this, and now that we have our stepper header ready, we're going to add the stepper items that are each step of the wizard. The stepper items and here we are going to add the content of each of these steps. The stepper content, and here we say, okay, this is going to be the content for the step 1. And here we're going to include, let's use a card. And let's keep it simple, H1, and this is going to be shipping step. I'm doing something wrong here. Yeah, need to close the tag. Okay, this is going to be the first step. Let's add a number. Okay, and now let's copy this and let's add the second step. But first I need to add a button to move across the different steps. So I'm going to add it here. B button, color primary, let's say. And I need to add the click event where I'm going to change the model. I'm going to move on to the next step. It's going to be the continue button. Add click, current step equals 2. And here I'm going to add continue. I'm going to close the button at the end. Okay. Now I click on continue and I move on to the step 2. That is empty because we didn't add the content there. So I'm going to copy the content of this one and I'm going to adapt it for the step number 2. Okay. This is going to be the payment step. That is actually, sorry. Okay. Payment step. That is going to be step 2. And the current step in this case, when we click on continue, is going to be step 3. Okay. We are on step 1. If we click on continue, now we are on step 2. And if we click on continue on step 2, we're going to get an empty step 3. And as we can see, these are marked as completed because the conditions are met, the conditions that we defined here. The current step is greater than 1 and greater than 2. Okay. And let's add the stepper content for the step 3. And And in this case, step 3, step 3. And in this case, we're going to assign the step 1. So we make this circular, just to put something there. Okay, so we're on step 1, then we click on continue. It's going to put the first step as completed because this condition is met. Current step is greater than 1, it's actually 2. Now on the step number 2, we click on continue, and the current step is going to be the step 3. So this condition is met. So now it's marked as completed. And if we click on continue, we are going back to the step number 1. And here is how it looks full screen. Step 1, step 2, and step 3. And we're back to step 1. If we reduce the screen, the label is not going to appear. It's just going to show the number and the check. Let's move on to the autocomplete component. In this case, I already created a component within the app that is called state selector. And let's move on to that component. And within this component, I already created just an empty container, a container with only one element, that is this heading. So let's start creating our autocomplete select. Okay, so I need to add the V autocomplete component. This component has a lot of options, so we are going to see just 6 or 7 of those options. So first, the basic ones are the label. Where we are going to do here is we're going to create a selector of the state where you live. We're going to ask the user, okay, what is the state that you are from? So let's do that. Okay, so we're going to ask, what state are you from? And here what I need to add is the items. This is going to be actually the model of this autocomplete component. The items. And here I'm going to assign states as the model. So I'm going to add it here within the data function, states. And this is going to be an array with all the states. So let me copy this list that I have here. And I'm going to put that within this states array. Okay. Let me refresh here. Okay, here we go. And here we have our basic autocomplete select, where we can put, I don't know, California, and here we access that value. This autocomplete component allows you to use strings as items and also objects with 2 properties, the value and the text. In this case, I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm just going to use strings for this list. Okay, let's see some other properties. As I said before, there are a lot of properties. The property list is huge. Let's review it really quick. And here we have tons of options. We can allow overflow, to allow the menu to overflow off the screen, append an icon, append outer icon, attach, auto select first, autofocus. We can cache the items, keeping a local unique copy of all the items. We can use chips, We can assign a clear icon, a lot of different options. I'm going to present on this video, how many options? 6 or 7, something like that. Okay, let's move on. Let's go back to the component. Okay, one other option is going to be a hint, provide a hint to the user. So we can say something like enter the first 3 letters. We save, and now here at the bottom we can see the hint, enter the first 3 letters. New York, for example. Okay, some other properties here are, for example, if we enter, I don't know, something that is not matching with any state in this case, we're going to receive by default this no data available message. And if we don't want to show that message, we can add this property that is hide no data. And if we put AAA again, it's not going to show the no data available message. That's another property. We can also add a clearable button, so we can clean the selection that we made. So I'm going to select the first one, Alabama, and here on the right side we have this button that we can click to clear the selection. Okay, some other things, we can allow multiple selection by setting this multiple property. So when we go here, we can click on multiple items. And we can also search using the autocomplete. Okay. And here we can clean again. And let's see another property. We can use small chips, for example, to show each selection. So we're going to select California, Texas, and as you can see, we get all the selections within a chip. And here we can clear all the selections. There is another property that is called deletable chips. And here we can select multiple options and we can remove each of these chips individually. Let's select again a couple of those, or we can clear them all just clicking the clear on the right side. Let's see now the Beautify calendar component. I already created an event manager component with the application. It's empty, it only contains this heading, calendar goes here. So we are going to include then the Beautify component. We're going to add the B calendar tag. Let's close this. And here, these are the most important properties. The type of the calendar, it could be day, month, or I guess day is one option. The other is month. Let's keep the type of the calendar as day. We can assign the current date. Let's say now equals, let's say 2019, April 8. and we can assign the selected value. Let's say that it's going to be the same as this one. And now the calendar is on that date. What we can assign to this calendar, typically on this event manager, we want to manage events, right? So the model or the data that we can pass to this calendar are events. So we're going to add that property here, events, and we're going to assign this model that is here, that is empty, that I already created. And here we can pass the events objects, and these are some of the properties for these events. I can assign a name to the event. I can assign a start date or daytime. Let's say 2019. Let's use the same date, 0408. Let's say 8 a.m. And the end of this meeting is going to be at 9 a.m. Save this. Okay, and this is the meeting between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. on that date. Okay, let's add a couple more for the same date, just to keep it simple. Let's say meeting 2 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Okay, here we have our two meetings, meeting 1 and meeting 2. Okay, let's say that we want to show details about the event, or we want to edit the event or delete the event once we click on it. The same behavior that Google Calendar has, for example. So we need to add the click event handler here. Add click event. And here we need to assign a function name. So I'm going to add that method here below the data method. And it's going to be show event. And this method is going to receive two parameters. It's going to be an object with two parameters. The native event, this is the JavaScript event, and the event of the calendar component. That is this object here, or the one that we click on. So we can assign, we need to add a couple of properties. So we need to add a selected event property, selected event, a selected element, to handle the selection, and a condition that is going to be a selected open Boolean attribute. So this basically is going to allow us to show or hide a card with the details of the event. Okay, and here I'm going to assign these values. That selected event is going to be the event that I received on this function. That selected element is going to be the target of the native event that I received. That is actually the element where I clicked on, And here I'm going to set the Boolean property, the selected open property, to true to show the card with the details of the event. Okay, and I'm going to assign the function to the handler here. I forgot to add that. Nothing happens. Now what I need to do is adding a card here. Usually one way to set this calendar is to include it within, for example, a container. In this case, we're going to use a sheet container, the sheet. And we're going to assign some height to it. Okay, let's add some more space. And now we need to add the card that is going to provide the details of the event and the ability to edit the event, delete the event, see the details, etc. And one option to do that is add a menu. So we're going to use that component as well, the menu. And within this menu, we are going to add the card. And within the card, we're going to show the event name, we're going to show the event details, we're going to show the buttons to make changes on the event or delete it. So we can add a toolbar. This is another component that will allow us to add different buttons within it to edit the event, delete the event, etc. So let's add some buttons. We can add, for example, icons to the buttons. We can say B button icon. And here we can say the icon, and this is going to be the button that will allow us to edit the event. So we can assign a pencil, MDI pencil. This is going to show a pencil to edit the event. Let's close this. Let's close this. Okay. And here, to show this menu, I need to assign a model that is going to be this property that we assigned here. This Boolean that if it's true is going to show the menu, and if it's false is going to hide the menu. So let's assign the model to it. Be model, and it's going to be selected open. And then we need an activator for this. That is going to be the selected element that we assign once we click on the event. And as we can see here on the show event method, this selected element is assigned to the element that we click on. That is the target of the JavaScript native event. So I'm going to assign the activator property. That is going to be the selected element. And one thing that I forgot to add is to stop the propagation of the native event. This is the common JavaScript behavior when we pass events. So I'm going to put this within a function. So I'm able to handle if the event is open or not, if there is an active element or not, and then toggle the window. Const open, and I'm going to create an arrow function here. And I'm going to check if there is an active element. That means that the card is open. So if this that selected open, then I'm going to set this as false, because when I click on an event again, and if it's open, I want to close this or the other event detail window. I'm going to assign false to it. And if it's not open, I'm going to call the open function here to open it. Okay, let's assign a color to the toolbar. Let's assign the color of the event. So we can say selected event that color, and we can assign a dark theme to it. We can assign a title to this toolbar. This is going to be the toolbar title, and this title is going to be the name of the event. Let's close this one. And now let's assign a color to the card. Let's say color equals gray lighten 4. And let's assign a mid width. I forgot to add this within the methods object. That's why it's not calling this function and it's not opening the event details. So this is going here. Okay, let's save this. Let's refresh, and let's see if I get an error again or not. Let's close this. Okay, here we go, and here we can see the event details. Let's refresh this. Okay, now I can see the event details. And I need to change the positioning of this, and I can do that by assigning offset X here to the menu, offset X. And this should open, below the event, okay. And here we have the button, here we have the event name. Here we can add a spacer to separate the title of the event from the details of the event that we are going to add within the bcard text element. a divider. And here we have the B card text. This is going to be below the toolbar. Here. B card text. And here we can add a span element. And we can include the details of the event. Select the event that details. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay, and here we have the pencil to edit the event, the meeting, the event title, and here we have place for the details of the event. I think we can add that property here. Details. Some details. Sorry, details. Okay. And now if I click here, I get the value of the details of the event. Here. Okay. And we can also add a button to close the event details pop-up. So we can add B card actions. As usual, on every card we have a B card text and B card actions. Usually we always follow the same structure there. Okay, here we have a B button. Sorry, B button. And here we assign to the click event. What we can do here is we can set false the selected open property. We save this, and I need to close this button. And I need to add some label, let's say cancel. So we click on the event, we have the pencil to edit the event, we have the event name, we have the details, and then we have the cancel button. And when we click on it, this will close the pop-up. Okay, that's pretty much what I have for today. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel, and I see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.